A humble, contrite heart, O God, you will not spurn. Something funny happened this past Ash Wednesday. My mother had reunited our cousins and invited my sister and I. So my mother, in her haste, being your typical Mexican host, ordered some pizzas and some chicken wings to feed the family. After I had finished my somewhat somber meal here at the Abbey, I went over to the house to join the family. And my mother asked me if I wanted to have dinner with them. And I said I would hold off until later. Afterwards, my mother asked me, "Why didn't you want to eat?" And I simply answered, "It's Ash Wednesday, Mom." With this horrified look in her face, she was so apologetic. But to me, it was rather funny. The reason that we had all gathered was because my uncle had recently passed, and so we were working on the funeral arrangements. And so this led me to contemplate today's readings and wonder, what is God looking for in our sacrifice? If many of you are like me, I hate to abstain from meat on Fridays. It's definitely a major sacrifice. But it leads to the question, why do we do it? Here in the readings today, God simply says, "I do not want burnt offerings, but rather a humble, contrite heart." And in this, we see what the point of fasting really is. As the prophet Isaiah highlights, "This rather is the fasting that I wish, releasing those bound unjustly, untying the thongs of the yokes, setting free the oppressed, breaking every yoke, sharing your bread with the hungry, sheltering the oppressed and the homeless, clothing the naked when you see them, and not turning your back on your own." Fasting and abstaining are courageous things, and they're not something to be done lightly. It causes us to take a step back and reflect on what is the purpose? Why are we doing this? Simple enough, the point of abstaining and the point of fasting is to unite ourselves to each other's suffering. This abstaining helps us to connect to the greater body of Christ that we are really being challenged to engage in during this season of Lent. Back to the Ash Wednesday story. The rest of the family, of course, was horrified about having eaten chicken wings on Ash Wednesday. But really, we were united there in our own suffering, in our own sadness, in which we shared with each other our grief, our sadness, the happy stories and the sad ones. Earlier in the chapter, God points out to Isaiah that he will give to us hidden treasures out of darkness, so that we can know that he is God.